Hey everybody, I was sitting outside. It's 6:35 in the morning, and I was having a conversation with myself. And I was like, well, maybe I should talk about this old trauma from Santa Rosa. Don't be afraid about it. It's all right. I lived through it. I know. I was sitting there, maybe I should talk about it. And and then I was like, bing, 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 bing. So I told you already that we had those big weeping willow trees in the backyard, and that Tom used to hit us with them, and that we one time made a plan to get him back, and we hid in the garage, and we were gonna get him. All of us, pretty much. I don't think Ricky was there. I was thinking about that time with the Hells Angels that strangled me, and Chrissy got away, and I broke free somehow, and I had to go to the police station. I couldn't talk for, I don't know, it was at least a couple of weeks. They recorded me in the police station. It was weird because who does that? You know, that was one of the times Tom was nice. He took a bat and was gonna, well, he protected me that one time because I hid behind him. We took the station wagon there with all of us. I told you about David leaving me on the fence too with the rattlesnake. I didn't mention the fact that I flew backwards off that fence as if somebody lifted me and pulled me away from the fence. I think it was my courage or somebody else, but it was courage that made me learn how to overcome that. There were other times, like the time that those men in gorilla suits broke into the house. I don't know why I'm saying it. I think I'm just purging all of this. We would run away, take the train to Aunt Barbara's house. And we always got those pecan pies from the bakery. We went crawdad hunting in the creek, and we would dive in the creek and look for crawdads under the rocks. One time, I blamed Ricky for it, but we used to make forts in the bamboo, and I think I set it on fire once. And I did tell Ricky eventually, but he got in trouble for it. And we had neighbors when we lived in the side by side. I was trying to think of their names. It doesn't matter. It'll come to me. There were other things that happened. You know, I don't know why I feel the need to. I don't want to scare you. That's not the intention. It's just really for me to like get that off my chest and like be like, okay, you know. I remember going up to the mountains in the snow. We hadn't seen snow. Well, I didn't have really a lot of formative memories of youth, I always, I always felt like an outsider. I was just sitting there talking to myself about it, like I didn't belong there, but I was there, you know. I'm listening to Barrios. I don't know who gave me this. I think I bought it, but I don't know. I don't listen to it very often, but I love it. Um, One time we got a flat tire going on around the mountain. And that mountain was to get to the top. You know, Tom Chance. I still smite him. It's funny too. We used to think that he was still alive. I looked for him in the, you know, in the records. I found some reference to him. Um, I think I actually even told Chrissy and Margie that I thought he was still alive at one time, and Mom lied. He was a really tall man. I don't think I have any photos of him left. I can see what he looks like, though. And it's not really that painful talking about it, and I don't know. Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you. Maybe it's for Steven that I'm saying it, you know, like just, okay, talk about it. We had more than just Ty and Bite as neighbors. We had other people as neighbors. We used to look over this family that lived next to us. We didn't have really anything. And this family that lived next to us, they had everything. They had like a tree fort and, you know, cars and trucks, and we had a tree fort. It was the tree. There was nothing. It was just a beautiful tree, that weeping willow. And we did swing on those branches like monkeys. We weren't monkeys though. I mean, we were just little kids. Um, Mom worked at Hewlett Packard back then. I remember going to the picnics, you know, and she had a good job. Tom gambled all of her money. It's okay though. I mean, like I said, I lived through it. I mean, they got me out of there before whatever happened out there happened. So I wasn't there for that. I was in Hazen with Dad. And that's when that tornado came. And I was there. I told you about that already in John's Toys. I wonder if that's why he doesn't talk to me. I always thought that they were lying to me about something. I told you I used to sleepwalk all the time, and I would end up in the darndest places. You know, I'd end up in the bushes, or you know, at the neighbor's house. sometimes I'd end up like down the street or Bailey's. Like, it was weird because I don't sleepwalk anymore. But I used to. That time the people in the gorilla masks broke in, that was an unreal experience because it was in the 70s, and all that stuff was going on in the 70s. I think Tom owed somebody money. At that time, and it was weird because it was like so disjointed. It just was like everybody was yelling, and we all kind of got in the same room. And then there was like this moment where, yeah, I don't want to say that. I know, right? Um, but there was like this moment where none of it seemed like it was happening, and then it almost seemed like it didn't happen. It was, it was like that. It was like, oh, that happened, and then it was over, and it was like, and then I don't remember anything. But I remember they had baseball bats too. Something weird. It was kind of like I was outside of it again. And something scared them away from it. So, yeah. Well, in that time, I told you about Margie and I going to get ducklings at that duck farm. And all the manure that we stepped in. We sank and up to our waists in it. And they warned us not to go there. We were walking on top of it. We didn't know. And the flea markets, those were really fun. And I was thinking about those little chickens, those little proud chickens with their like feet, and they had these like little like feathers that went down around their feet. It was so cute. They were like, they walked around and they were just like, look at me, I'm so proud, And they weren't like, they were like show chickens. I mean, our, I don't think we ever ate those kind of chickens. And they were the Banty roosters and chickens. They were all sorts of different varieties. Some were black and some were like speckled. And they had peacocks there too. I remember that. Like the white ones and then the regular kind of peacocks. And they had these weird, like, guinea chickens or something. I can't remember. I can see them, but I can't. And some of them were bluish gray. I can see what they look like, but I can't remember all their names. And yes, yes, I did have a Donna Summers album. We had those, and Alice Cooper from Inside. I had a lot of different, like, and we watched those Grandma paid for our cable. I know that now. I was thinking about at times we met like Evelyn and George out there. at Knott's Berry Farm, and Grandma like paid for all of us to go. That was really nice. I did say that she knew what was going on and she couldn't help us. Maybe she did in different ways and I just didn't know. You know. I used to pray. Well, I don't know if praying is a word, but I used to sit at night and think, come get me. Please just come get me. I can't stand it anymore, even as a little boy. I did that until well, I won't even tell you that one because that was too funny because Sean just looked at me like, Steven. I think he knew what I was thinking because he looked at me with those eyes and I was just like, yeah. I've been having these visions and I don't want to say it. Well, I know people are like, well, you're crazy. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. I've never been more like free to like say the things that I need to say. You know? And so, oh, well, I'll tell you this. I met this homeless man yesterday while he was waiting for the bus. I won't say his name. But I was like, he asked me where he could stay, where, if I knew any resources for homeless people. And I was like, well, I've been there. And I gave him all these names. And I remember at one time collecting that handbook for people on the street. And I was like, wow, they probably actually, found that in my literature. But I gave him some places. And he asked for some change. And so I gave it what change I had. Except for a quarter. I saved a quarter. Because I saved quarters for Sean. And I keep the pennies and the nickels. I don't know why. When I used to save my change, I would just put it all in the same jar. Or sometimes, one time I put it in this. Oh, and last night, I was talking to Sean, and I was like, I was just leaving a message for him. And I was thinking about Sabea and Mia, and then my ribs started hurting. They haven't hurt forever. It took my breath away for a minute. It was like that old pain. I used to stick my hand in there and feel my heart beating at night. I broke those 3 ribs. That's really the only bone that I've ever broken. Bones, because there's 3 of them. They were going to fix it at one time. But the procedure, I was like, I'm not doing that. Ooh. So, and it was like, it hurt. I was like, I haven't felt that forever. It was like this sharp stabbing pain, and I was telling Sean, I'm like, ow. When I was leaving him a message, I was like, it hurt, Who does that? I had this vision in my mind too about this winged being flying me back to Earth so I could see that nothing has changed. I was watching the forest fire. I know what happens in forest fires. And at one time I thought, oh, that's horrible. And then I thought, like pine trees and stuff in the forest, they reseed, you know, and, they do, and new forests grow. And it seemed like in California they had forest fires every year, you know. And then I like was flying around the earth, and we were like went to Africa, and we still saw those same kind of conditions, and they were like, see, Stephen, it doesn't change. And they're like, will you please talk about those big families that are. And I was like, it's not like I know for certain, you know. I know some people want me to be like, well, just say what you think you know. I know one thing, and that's Sean and I were talking once, and it doesn't. It seems like since the beginning, well, not the beginning of time, but since like prehistoric man and stuff, there were like, I always wondered. Oh, I knew. I was like, who gave them fire? But at one time, I thought it's been going on for ever, and when language was developed, then things changed because then learning and communication and stuff happened. But before that, people were really just, you know, lived on animal instincts, you know. And it was survival. I mean, so I can see them just. I can see them do. I mean, like, in my mind, like, and I don't know where. It's not from a movie or anything. It's like, you know. And then there was like extinction events that happened with the dinosaurs. And some animals actually lived through it. Yeah. Not, um, yeah. It's just interesting. And then I was, I was thinking about that too. Somebody said to me once, you would have loved, you know, like ancient Greece and the ancient civilizations. And sometimes I was like, well, I was already there. I can see them in my mind, just, you know. And the thing that I know about power and control from those times? Well, it's the same thing. It hasn't changed very much if you think about it. Power structures and that's why I'm like, I'm just, saying what I know personally. I'm not responsible for any of it. I told you they ripped me out of time, and I'm like, I said they would be in trouble for doing that. I called I was going to say the Florida branch, but I did call the Florida branch I was going to talk to one of the genealogists down there about my mom's side. I don't mention that very often, and I've said that about the Native American heritage. And I was talking yesterday about it in my mind about, well, what all happened. I was like, yeah. I wrote down some dates. I don't even, just random dates, and I was like, those are important dates. And it's like they were telling me what dates to look at, and I just was like, I can't look at them right now. Because maybe they're not for this time. Maybe they're dates from a different time. Good morning. Anyway, Sean's up, so I'm gonna go. I love you guys. Have a good day.